This is the True Real Estate 911 podcast with Lisa True. Lisa will share up-to-date real estate information with you that you need to know.
Welcome to True Real Estate 911. It's Brian Mudd, along with your local real estate pro, Lisa True. And we have a great show about investments and choices in real estate and how it should be at the forefront of everyone's investment and long-term thought process and decision-making. And we do have some encouraging information about millennials. There's still a lot of work to do with financial education. We're going to talk about that on today's show. But first, if you're not already there, go to TrueRealEstate911.com. When you go there, it'll make perfect sense. You'll see the best local resource for real estate throughout South Florida. When you go there, you can search the MLS like a real estate pro in real time. You can check out the instructional videos and the information that's available that the Trues offer, and just generally have a lot more information about what goes on throughout the Palm Beaches and beyond than you did before you ventured to TrueRealEstate911.com. And then you're ready to talk to the Trues. They're always ready to help. Buying, selling, if you have questions, 561-972-8326. That's 561-972-8326. All right, Lisa, so status check on local real estate. What's going on?
We are so busy, Brian. It is absolutely insane. Today, I have 5 offers on listings. We have new properties coming on the market, and yet there are some challenges. The challenge really is that middle price point, that $600,000 to $800,000 price point, is just oversaturated with options in many neighborhoods. Now, that's not everywhere. There's still some great seller opportunities to take advantage of high prices in Palm Beach County, and yet many of the neighborhoods have seen a cooling off in that price range.
We know that the seasonal factors that go into our real estate tend to be a little bit different than some other places, in part because of season, for example. Is this year playing out like many others previously, or are we seeing some different activity, especially with mortgage rates having dipped the way they have?
We are actually seeing in our single-family home product, what we would normally see is just stronger, is that's when people want to move. Obviously, the seasonal product tends to start hitting the market about September, October, November for people that want to use the property in the winter. However, we have definitely seen those buyers coming early. We have closed so many buyers that normally would have waited till the fall to come down and take advantage of great prices, great interest rates, more options, and less competition. And that's great news.
For sure. All right. And speaking of, encouraging news, I won't say this is great. It has the potential to be. We always talk about good decision making that comes with good information. We do have some new information available, real estate related information from Bankrate.com, showing that of all investment classes among millennials, real estate comes out on top. The one thing that is maybe a little bit less than ideal news, it's still just at 31%. What do you make of this research, this information?
Well, it's a positive step that it's a little bit higher, and yet when they talk about it's the highest group, I mean, let's face it, baby boomers are at 30%. So it's really not that drastic to what we've seen with other generational buyers. What I would say is that there's a disconnect between this poll and reality. Remember, the studies all show that 83% of all wealth at retirement is coming from real estate. And so that means a lot of people are really just kind of missing out with an intentional strategy. And I just believe that everything works better with the right strategy and some planning. And of course, starting early helps with that whole compounding result that you get with any type of investment.
We see that the average millennial, once they engage in traditional family formation, you settle down, you plan to have a family, we do see that a house becomes a priority. Before that, maybe not as much, though there is the desire. But many millennials, especially since they're waiting later to settle down, to get married, really should be considering real estate. What are some of those circumstances where people might not realize what they're missing out on because they're continuing to rent when they haven't yet settled down?
I think many millennials think that they can't buy real estate. I know many that have purchased homes before they got married or before they had a family, kind of those trigger points in the past, those milestone moments in our lives that cause somebody to say, okay, I need to get my first property, my first home. What we're seeing with people that are in that millennial age group that are buying, many of them are buying maybe a transitional property or a property that can be rented when they are ready to buy that single family home. So a condo that allows rentals or a townhome that allows rentals that will positive cash flow. It is really just, I believe, lack of knowledge about how easy this process has become is what's keeping the rest of them from considering whether it makes sense.
Well, yeah, absolutely. Plus, if you think about it from a lifestyle standpoint, if you go ahead and purchase, you're also setting yourself up for maybe more success as you're transitioning into that relationship. It's a lot to get married and then to find a place and to figure all those details out. If you're already settled in and you have the ability to grow from there, that takes a lot of pressure off of that entire transition in one's life.
It does. And the numbers are really unbelievable to me of how many people we're talking about just here in Palm Beach County. We have over 400,000 that are renting right now in Palm Beach County. Now, I'm not the believer that everybody should be a homeowner. I'm just not. There are people that are going to be moving in a year. There are people that are not financially secure in their job. And those people should stay renting to be flexible with their movement and their budget. However, 1/4 of all the people renting, think about that, 110,000 people in Palm Beach County not only can, but should be buying a home. They can afford it. They have enough money saved. They have the credit that they need. They have a stable job. They have the reserves. They should be a homeowner. And all the studies say that it leads to a better quality of life. It's not just about where you're living. It's about the lifestyle, the connections to the community. And imagine, if you've been renting for a while, you can't do anything to the property. Whatever is. You can design it to fit your desires and your lifestyle. And it just makes sense to consider, am I one of the 1 in 4 that can afford a home?
Yeah, not to mention, you have no control over rent rate increases, no control over what might happen if the owner decides they want to sell the property. All these different things that can totally uproot our lives without any real advance notice. So what is it? You've been working in real estate now going back to the late 80s. What is it about this age group today that may be different than prior generations?
Well, one of the interesting things that people are really surprised at is many of them are skipping what we would call normally your first home. Many of them have great incomes and they've saved money. They lived at home and they kept all of their income and saved it and accrued it. And now they're skipping what we would have considered as somebody their age, the starter home, into their next home. And some of them are even skipping to their dream home. And with today's interest rates and their job security, they're able to do that. And it's quite fascinating to see kind of that change in the way they think.
Well, so if we're already taking a look at that next step in terms of home, could that be some of the disconnect here? That maybe the expectations have risen too high, and some of those people that you're talking about that should be buying right now, they're waiting because maybe they feel like it has to be something that isn't a starter home when that would be appropriate?
I think that our conversations with our first-time home buyers is that your first home doesn't have to be your dream home. It's a transitional home to help you achieve your goals. Finding maybe something that needs a little bit of work, and because of that, it's dramatically reduced. You can come in, put in the modern touches, make it like the HGTV type of a product, and then take that, first of all, equity just by living there, and then secondly, your sweat equity, your reward for making it better, and then taking all that money with you to your next property. That's a really amazing way to do that and to start building wealth faster.
And recently, we saw the latest numbers. We've talked about this for some time. If you're going to be in place for 3 years or more, it pretty much is a no-brainer. Last I saw, 3.4 years is the no-brainer point in the Palm Beaches. So that very much remains the case today.
It does, and it's been fun to see the opportunities that some of our buyers have gotten this year that wouldn't have been possible last year. We just had a closing yesterday. Somebody bought their second home and bought it substantially less than appraised value. We were able to get them an amazing property that they are so excited to spend winter in. And we're doing that time and time and time again because we're putting the right strategy together to help our clients find the right property and negotiate that right deal.
Okay, so now we're thinking about making that transition. Okay, real estate versus renting. How is it that we should enter that process? In other words, how much planning on the front end should take place?
I get a lot of calls from people that say, my lease is renewing at the end of the month. I want to buy a house. It can happen. However, some associations mandate 30 days, so we at least need 30 days, and it becomes much more stressful than it needs to be.
The secret is the truth will just put you up until you're close, right?
Right. One of the things that I would say is if you are considering doing this and you are 90 days out from your lease renewal, that's a really good time to start the process to get pre-approved, to sit down and do a consultation with us, to start looking at the right properties and formulating a deal. At about 45 days, we really need to kind of be serious about finding that right match. And it's okay, by the way, and we do this all the time, to go out on the first day and find your dream home. I mean, we statistically are finding our clients' dream homes. And Brian, one of the things about this is many of these buyers have been looking for a year with another agent.
Wow.
With no
That's
success.
Ridiculous.
And we go out after doing a very thorough consultation, find them their dream home after 3, 4, 5 homes because we know the inventory, we understand the lifestyle, and most importantly, we listen to what they want. And sometimes we can get them the concept of what they want. They just don't really know what that looks like. And we can redirect them and ask them, have you considered this? And often it's that out-of-the-box thinking that helps us kind of clarify really what they want. They just don't know, especially if you're not from here. It's really hard to come down and say, beyond how many bedrooms, baths, and price you want, what kind of lifestyle is important.
With mortgage rates where they are and home values having been somewhat steady, not really on the dramatic increase over the past year, are we seeing opportunities at the entry level for people that are renting right now to be able to buy and to save money every month?
Oh, 100%. The one thing I will tell you is that people are buying investment properties at really record amounts for a reason, because the ROI is there. They're able to charge more and more. Because think about it, we have over 1 million people living in Palm Beach County, 400,000 of those are renters. And as people continue to move down, they're going to have more and more rental demands, which means that prices on rents of what we're paying as a tenant are going to increase. So there is no doubt that being able to lock in what your payment's going to be with a fixed rate, plus establishing homestead on your primary property so that your taxes are locked in. Because remember, landlords don't get that benefit.
Right.
And so when taxes go up for a landlord,
that's such a good point.
It goes up for the tenant. The landlord is going to keep their profit in most cases. And so it gives you a chance to really kind of lock in those things and it's a better financial decision than renting all day long.
It absolutely is. And so if you're in the situation, if your kids are, if you know someone, make sure that they're aware of the opportunities and the truths. They're always ready to help. Again, if you're not already there, TrueRealEstate911.com. That's TrueRealEstate911.com. Or call them 561-972-8326. That's 561-972-8326.